Hey, what's up, y'all? Wes Mitchell here, Gamecock Central. It is game day. Coming at you live from my house. Little final game day talk. Gonna take your questions. We may be joined by Chris Clark at some point, but for the most part, you got me right here. It looks like Chris. Chris is actually at the game. I'm handling stuff from the house today. Chris is there, Colin's there, and I'll be just taking care of business here. So Chris was gonna maybe join us, but I think it's loud where he is at right now, so I don't know if he'll be popping in or not. Might hear from Colin Taylor potentially. I don't know. I'm gonna shoot him a text. He is out at the baseball scrimmage. So anyway, what's up, y'all? I see we got some people coming in the chat already. Alan on Facebook, Craig on Oklahoma from Craig talking about Oklahoma, not from Oklahoma, from YouTube. What's up, y'all? I mean, I have nothing prepared for this. I figure we'll just sort of test it out, see what the I kind of wanted to see what the appetite is for a pregame deal. Was maybe going to look at even in the future doing it a little bit closer to game time, maybe having a guest on, but mostly just want to sort of take questions and sort of chat about the game, and we'll let you guys and gals sort of take it whatever direction you want. So, where's everybody watching the game? Are you going to the game? Are you at home? And what y'all think of those other games so far? I wanted to watch some of those SEC games already, but I did not get a chance to see much. I've been just getting stuff ready both on the site and still here at my house as well. I'm going to have some people over, so I have not been able to check what's going on other than that. I'm assuming Auburn held on and beat Kentucky, and obviously I saw Florida was beating up on Ole Miss and pulled away. Florida's offense obviously looked outstanding. So that's interesting. That obviously is the game for South Carolina next week. And Kyle Trask, I kind of wondered about him because I still don't feel like Trask physically is that super talented like NFL guy. But as I guess we see, he just knows where the ball is supposed to go and knows how to get the job done. So interesting there. Now, Ole Miss defensively, not really a team that I think has a lot of guys. Obviously, they had a coaching change for a reason. So, I don't know. It's week one. What can we take from these games right now? Probably not a whole lot yet. So, Joshua on Facebook, Ole Miss's defense just is not there yet. I agree with you 100%. Not sure they're in a place to hang with Florida, who, has, I guess they lost some receivers, but bringing back a quarterback, another year in that system, just understanding, exactly what Dan Mullen is looking for from that offense. That's a bad matchup for Ole Miss. By the way, if you see a dog poke his head up, I am watching my girlfriend's dog today, so he's chilling underneath me right now. He may make himself noticed. What are y'all going to the game? Are you watching at home? And what are your questions? Let's see. I already see some rolling through right now. We got some folks from all over. Texas, Simpsonville, Mount Pleasant, Oklahoma. Yes. Obviously the biggest surprise of this young college football season. And I think we're going to see stuff like that continue. It's been such a weird offseason for these teams. It's been such a, strange deal where teams are going to be missing guys they wouldn't be missing otherwise. And I think you look and just around college football, there's always a chance of upsets, right? But we're seeing sloppy play. I think it seemed like coming into this week that we were seeing maybe some low-scoring games. But, Kansas State, Oklahoma, obviously not a low-scoring game. Florida was able to put up some points. Ole Miss, it looked like, again, I didn't get to see much of that game, so I shouldn't talk like I did. But it seemed like Ole Miss moved the ball some, I think. They have some talent on offense. So So we'll see. I don't know if that means anything for tonight's game, but we shall see. Nathan, who will have a breakout game tonight? It's a great question. I'll say it like this. Who does South Carolina really hope has a breakout game? I think you got to start with Shi Smith, right? I mean, 13 has played the Robin role for his first 3 years. And now he's got that opportunity. He's going to get the ball thrown his way. Now, I still think they'll spread it around, quite a bit. But not that you can necessarily – I mean, do you call it a breakout game? I don't know. Everybody knows who Shi Smith is. But, is it a situation where Shi can just sort of cement himself as that number one guy? We'll see. And, I think you look and that's what Carolina needs. They need for these receivers to be able to show that they are capable of going out and getting open and making plays against SEC defenses. So, I think we're not going to know that until we see it go happen. But I think if you're Carolina, you hope Shi Smith's a breakout guy. I think Nick Muse, even coming off the injury, is settled in for a really big, I guess, senior year, even though he would be able to come back next year as well. So that's a little different this year. But and then the running backs, I think you're hoping, if you're a Carolina fan, you're hoping one of those running backs, right, can step up and be a guy. Somebody asked who will get the start at running back. Kevin Harris will get the start. Donnie, thanks for joining us, Donnie. I think I've seen Donnie on here quite a bit, so appreciate you being on here, Donnie. Kevin Harris gets the start, but all three will play. So you got Kevin Harris, Deshaun Fenwick, Zaquandre White, and I'm curious to see what can Kevin Harris do with some actual steady carries. We saw him last year as a freshman. He got mop-up duty and he got short yardage duty, right? Well, he's going to get a chance to get into the flow of the game, I think. He'll get a chance to wear down Tennessee, and I think that's probably his strength. I mean, this is a kid that is incredibly strong, lower body strength off the charts. He's got some balance as well. He's not a burner, but he does break tackles, and I think he can move the pile for you. So, could he be one of those kids that over the course of a game that plays up? Maybe if you evaluate him in practice, that's not necessarily evident. But in a game with multiple carries, maybe that sort of plays up a little bit. Deshaun Fenwick, we'll see. They've really challenged Deshaun this year, I think. He's responded. He's worked hard. I think he still needs to get more consistent. That's the word they use with him. And then Zaquandre White, to me, frankly, is the most explosive sort of dynamic is the word you would use. I don't want to necessarily say most talented. I don't want to dog the other guys, but he is the one that I think gets in there, brings some added energy, brings an added big play, explosive threat, which is something this offense could use. So I tend to think Harris will get the first carry. Fenwick will be the next guy to get a carry, and then White may be third. But whichever one of those guys is, making plays, whichever one of those guys is most productive is going to, play the most the rest of the game. So could Zaquandre White end up, assuming his health, could he end up getting more, carries than those other guys? Maybe that's absolutely possible. So that's just one of a lot of storylines in this game that I think are very, very, very intriguing. So, we'll see. I think we're tracking this team, obviously, as well as we possibly can, but there are so many unknowns this year that it's going to be fun to see. Let's see. Make sure these texts aren't about the game. Let's see. All right. By the way, this is brought to you by AffordableMedicalUSA.com, home of the Game Day chair. They sponsor all of our lives throughout the week. This, I don't know if it was necessarily part of the package, but anytime we're doing GC Live, those guys are why. So go ahead, check out AffordableMedicalUSA.com. They are home of the Game Day chair, and obviously it's probably too late to get a Game Day chair for this week, but check them out. this week, maybe you're watching the Florida game from home. You can check this bad boy out and enjoy the game in style. I'm going to go through. I got to catch up on your questions. See Stuart on Facebook. How durable do you think Colin Hill is going to be? I think Colin's going to be fine. Certainly, if you have somebody with 3 injuries to a knee, three major injuries, let's call it what it is, then yes, that can be a concern, right? But I don't know necessarily if there's any a much greater chance for it to happen again. Just because can lightning strike again a 4th time? I guess so. But he has shown no. And I believe people when they tell me this, he has shown literally no effects of the most recent injury. Now, is Colin going to be that super fast guy that's going to take off running a lot? No, if he was on here right now, he'd tell you that. But, we'll see. I think for him having those injuries before, the first time you come back from one, maybe there is some concern. But when you've been through that before, one thing Mike Bobo has said is that Colin Hill really is not worried about injuries just because he's been through it and he's excited to get back and just be able to play a game that was sort of taken away from him. All right, y'all hang with me. I'm going to try to fly back up through. Y'all got a lot of comments, which I like. I appreciate. Let's see. Got some new names on here. Good to see you folks. Y'all hang with me. By the way, if you are just joining us on all the social media stuff, please check out our GamecockCentral.com coverage of the game. I think sometimes people forget that we do have a lot of free stuff on Gamecock Central as well, like free coverage. It's not all behind a paywall. So please come check us out, GamecockCentral.com. So y'all got, what is it, LSU Mississippi State on right now? What's the score of that? I don't have the game on. Auburn Kentucky, I guess, is over. Trying to get to some questions. Randy, besides all right, here's a good one. Besides Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who the recruits were battling Tennessee for, South Carolina and Tennessee go head to head pretty much every year now. I think a reason for that is, basically they have very similar approaches to the game, similar evaluations, similar defensive schemes. They come from the, similar defensive coaching trees. So the scheme and the skill sets you're looking for are very similar, especially on defense. I don't really know that there's necessarily, because if you look, there's actually only so many guys left in this class for South Carolina and really for Tennessee. I will say that there's maybe a few guys, and I'm going to the notes here because I want to make sure I get this kid's hometown right because I get it confused every time. But the guy that I think I'd be watching is Jordan Mosley, the receiver. He is from Mobile, Alabama. He's committed to Tennessee, but has remained a priority target for South Carolina and is someone that I think they've continued to try to work, to get, to Columbia. The fact that there's no visits right now are really, there's technically no visits. Some schools have sort of gotten around that, it seems like, but no real visits has hurt. It hurts, especially if a guy's already committed to another school to try and turn him. But he's Jordan Mosley is a guy that I would definitely keep an eye on. Again, if y'all are just joining, my girlfriend's dog is on my lap right now, and if he starts freaking out, I apologize in advance. Let's see. Already talked about the backfield a little bit. Joshua on Facebook, good question, man. I had this in my little final write-up on the game. I think this is a big game for Keir Thomas, Jabari Ellis. These two guys are and Keir has started before. Jabari actually did start last year against Clemson, but this is their chance to sort of be the guy or be the guys inside at defensive tackle. And so I think Tennessee, if you read the reports out of Knoxville, their offensive line is supposedly their strength. So they're going to try to establish the run, much like South Carolina is on offense. So I think can Jabari, can Kier, can they hold up against the run inside? I don't even know necessarily, Josh, if it's about getting a push even, but just hold up and sort of be that stalemate, because I think you look at these two offenses and you try to sort of compare the running games. Tennessee brings back the kid Ty Chandler. They bring back Eric Gray. I've read some stuff that seems to think, they seem to think Eric Gray is going to take a big step this year. So Tennessee really has some proven backs, whereas South Carolina doesn't. So I think that's going to be huge. That if Tennessee can get a push in the middle with those running backs that they have coming back, and they didn't put up huge numbers last year, but they've at least played. They have experience. I think Chandler rushed for maybe 600 and something yards last year, if I remember that correctly. So we'll see, but I think that's a spot. If you want to look in an area early on in the game that's going to tell us, sort of what to expect, watch the two interior defensive linemen for South Carolina. Are they winning? Is it a stalemate? Or is Tennessee getting a push? The other thing I would look when Colin Hill is dropping back, is he having to hold on to the ball a long time? Because he knows this offense like the back of his hand. He knows where the ball is supposed to go. He's going to get the ball out quick if it's available, if the throws are there. But if he's having to just sit there and looks like he's starting to have to go through multiple reads, having to sort of chop his feet or even having to extend plays, then that probably is going to be an early sign that Carolina's receivers, which are a question mark, are not, getting open. So I think that's probably two things. If you want to just look at the first few drives that maybe are going to tell us something, that's something I'm circling. We got the Mac and Dino podcast in here. Let's see. Oh, y'all want to talk Florida a little bit? I don't know. That's a good question. I'll sort of have to think about that, and we'll get into that next week for for the Florida game. That's going to be a whole nother animal, I think, for South Carolina than this game will be. Bruce wants to talk about Colin Hill on Facebook. I'll tell you, I think if y'all have not seen Colin Hill throw the football, you haven't seen him at Colorado State, I think the fan base is going to be probably a little bit surprised by just how talented Colin Hill is, from everything I've been told. There's a little bit of a misconception that he's not as talented, as Ryan Helinski, and that he just knows the system better. But this is a kid with a really big arm, throws a really tight spiral, which, receivers will tell you that matters. It's a catchable ball. And I don't think this will be an issue today, but when it is a windy day and you're needing the ball to sort of cut through the wind, that tight spiral, the velocity that he can get on the ball really can matter, right? So I think y'all are going to be impressed with Colin. Now, whether or not South Carolina's receivers are able to consistently get open, whether or not they can establish the running game, we'll see. All those things will be way more important than Colin's actual, ability, I think. But y'all are going to like this kid. I really think so. I know a lot of people wanted, or some people, I don't know if it's a lot. Some of you wanted Helinski. I get it. But right now, it's, the coaches obviously believe Colin Hill is the best shot for this team to win. And, he's a talented kid, so I think y'all like what you see. Let's see. Yeah, and Marcus Lattimore did endorse Kevin Harris. To me, that tells me more than anything that Kevin Harris is a good kid who does things the right way and has worked really hard for this opportunity. Cannot see Marcus Lattimore sort of endorsing, co-signing someone like that if he isn't really, proud of the way that guy has worked. Let's see. All right, let me roll through your questions. Again, appreciate y'all joining, man. This is great. I may hop on here at halftime. I don't know. It's going to depend on some other factors. But if if there's a chance to get on here and talk, I may get on here and chat. Alex is excited to see Birch. I think Birch has a chance to make an impact early this year. He's not going to be a starter, but eventually, you look. South Carolina has some good defensive linemen. I don't know if anybody else that quite has the pass rush, natural first step, length that Jordan Birch possesses. So you want to talk about third and long, getting to the quarterback. I don't know how many actual snaps Birch will play because that will be determined by what rotation they use and down and distance. But if Carolina gets in some third and longs, I wouldn't be surprised if the new number 3, Jordan Birch, maybe makes a big play, gets a sack, and basically, has a chance to make some plays. All right, I'm gonna keep rolling on through. Brian wants to know, can we use this platform to push Spurs on the new statue? Brian, I think Spurs are coming, my friend. There are not Spurs on there right now, but there will be Spurs on the statue at some point, I believe. I think that's the case. I think we're safe saying that. All right. Which one of us was on ESPN Upstate Radio? I know that I wasn't. I don't think Chris was. Was it Colin potentially? I don't know. I don't think that was any of us, honestly. Whose show? Jeffrey? I don't know. All right, let's keep rolling on through. No, this will not be Muschamps last year. By the way, how is everybody watching on here fired up about the lack of Spurs on the statue? Because I try to have like a decent feel for the fan base and what matters to everybody, have my finger on the pulse of the fan base. But I didn't really anticipate that one, to be honest. But everybody is fired up about those Spurs. That caught me off guard. I got to admit, it caught me off guard. But start to get the answers. Yes. Randy says yes. I mean, I get it. It does need Spurs, but it's still a very awesome statue, is it not? Have y'all been down there to see it in person yet? I haven't been down there to see it in person yet, but I mean, it's still pretty awesome, and they'll get Spurs on there at some point. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. A lot of sentiment says without Spurs, it's just the chicken. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm ready to see it in person. I haven't been down there. I know it's up today. At least it's finally up, y'all. It is really big and unique. Let's see. There's a question I want to get to. Where'd it go? Is Joyner going to be the next Debo? See, I think when the expectations like that are put on somebody, and I know J.C. Horn, I think it was talking up to carry on and said, he reminds him of Debo from a skill set standpoint. I don't think, and I'm trying to say this the best way, I don't think it's fair to carry on for us as a media or fans to put those expectations on him. Because Debo is special, and Debo is doing it at the highest level. Once he gets back healthy, he'll be. I don't watch near as much NFL as I do college football, but Debo's got a chance, right, to be a number one receiver in the NFL. I think certainly a number 2. So I don't quite expect that type of production. Could he get better? Certainly, will he get more comfortable? Will he keep growing at that position? But to put those expectations on him right now, I think not fair for us to do, and probably not likely. I think it's the best way to say it. Here's the best case scenario, y'all. Best case scenario for receivers is Shi Smith is ready to be a dude be number one, be the top threat. They're going to move him around a lot. Xavier Legette becomes sort of a big downfield threat. He's a guy that can jump, can run, can get open on the outside. And then that DeCarrion Joyner can be sort of that solid third option, I think, and catch the ball and get open. And now after the catch, I do think DeCarrion is a guy who can make you miss, who can make some things happen. I think he's still learning the nuances of the receiver position and consistently getting open, consistently catching the football, and dealing with some of the physicality that comes with playing receiver at the SEC level. So I think that's just not fair on him, but we'll see. And I think the other part of that, the best case scenario, is that Rico Powers and, you look at him and some of the other freshmen, Jakari Caldwell, these guys are talented. And, we'll see how quickly they come along. But, Rico Powers is going to help this team, I think, tonight. Jakari Caldwell, sooner rather than later, is going to help this team. Luke Doty will be on the field at some point tonight. So how quickly do the freshmen sort of come along and sort of maybe even take over one of those spots, particularly Rico Powers, I think will be an interesting sort of storyline to follow. But we'll see. I mean, I'm excited for DeCarrion to get his shot. I will say I'll go to the tight ends, y'all. I think there's some depth at tight end. You look at, obviously everybody knows about Nick Muse, but the strides that Kevion Mullins has made, you look at the strides Will Register has made, and I'll tell y'all, watch out for Eric Shaw. The freshman has a chance to be really good. Not being talked about maybe as much as some other guys yet, but watch out for Eric Shaw sooner rather than later. I think this guy is going to really help South Carolina this season. So let's see. AMC, what's up, buddy? Got some of my old college and high school friends on here. Let's see. Which past USC quarterback would you compare Colin Hill to? It's a good question, Fred. Put me on the spot there, man. I don't know if I want to say Dylan. I would say Dylan from a standpoint of some, he's a big kid from the upstate that has that pocket presence as far as, having some size. He can see over the line, big over-the-top delivery. They both played basketball, I think, in high school. I think Dylan had that sort of sneaky athleticism. And we'll see. I don't know if Colin has quite that just sneaky athleticism that Dylan does. But, as far as just recent players at South Carolina, that comes to mind. Now, I do know our friend Eric Kimry, he mentioned from an arm standpoint Anthony Wright, which obviously for Eric to say that is very, very high praise. Because Anthony Wright had one of the strongest arms, maybe the strongest arms of anybody in Carolina football history. So that's pretty impressive. Randy, another good question. Did Tennessee put out anything on how many players they have suited up with the COVID issues? We had Austin Price from VolQuest.com on earlier this week, and he said anybody that's out for Tennessee, as far as they knew on Wednesday, was not going to be from that COVID group, that basically it would be regular injuries. Now, everybody had one final round of testing on Thursday. They'll go into Friday, obviously, when they would get their results, and none of us are going to know until probably an hour before game time, I think, if anybody is out. But as far as that big group at Tennessee that had missed so much time, and a lot of it wasn't even COVID positives, it was the contact tracing issues. That's really what everybody has to deal with right now, as far as the numbers of kids, would be the contact tracing stuff. So we'll see. And Mac and Dina, yeah. I mean, I have made that point. I'm with you. Here, let me pull it up for y'all. Every year, I actually made that point on I don't remember who I was talking to, on Keith Awesome's podcast, the Cockfather. If you go all the way back to mean, you can go back to 2000, and every year South Carolina has had a wide receiver step up. But the other side of that is I think every year we knew going in probably who that guy was going to be. This year, there's sort of a little bit of an unknown with all that. And the receiver, I can promise you that the receiver concerns are very real. Now, you hope if you're a Carolina fan that when the lights go on, these guys can go out and can perform and can make things happen and sort of take advantage of an opportunity. And I think some of that is Shy was a number 3 or number 2 receiver because that's the role he was put in. So sometimes you can only be as good as your opportunities. And granted, Deebo Samuel was amazing. Brian Edwards, amazing. So you can see why Shy wasn't the primary target. But what can he do being targeted as a number 1 guy, being someone that you can move around? You can play him outside. You can play him in the slot. You can get him involved in the jet sweep game. There's some different stuff you can do to get Shi Smith the ball, hopefully in space. So sometimes you are a secondary option because that's the best place for you on the team right then. But that doesn't mean you're not capable of being, a star receiver. So, I mean, we'll see. It is a decent, it is a good point. It's something worth pointing out. But I mean, there are definitely concerns at receiver, and I think if you look, if you want to circle one of the probably the biggest concern or unknown or question mark on this team right now, it's still wide receiver because Jalen Brooks not having a waiver, not being able to play today is a big loss. I mean, we were told pretty instantly Jalen Brooks is the guy that needs to get the waiver. He needs to be on the field. And it just it hasn't happened. So next man up, but it certainly hurts South Carolina, much like, you can't get over how much not having Marshawn Lloyd be available is going to hurt this team, I think. So we'll see. Let's see. Over under on seeing Doty take snaps at quarterback. This year, definitely over. Today, I think it's just going to depend on how the game plays out. I think that's certainly something you could see at some point because he does bring a different skill set. And they've said he's going to play. Obviously, he's going to play some receiver. Is quarterback a possibility? Yes, but we will see. What's the Georgia score? I see y'all talking about it. What's the Georgia score? What's going on with Mississippi State and LSU? There has been some really sloppy football to start the year. So we'll see. All right, let me get through y'all's questions. Another question about receivers is Xavier Legette the next great Gamecock receiver? They hope, Carolina coaches hope, but until we see it happen, until you see the consistency, who knows? Still the biggest question mark on the team. Here's another point from Mac and those guys. Tennessee's sort of, I don't know if it's their biggest question mark, but maybe a surprise from their camp this year has been that their defensive front, their defensive line in particular, has not performed in practice the way they hoped or maybe even expected. So they've challenged those guys a lot. And that's something that could absolutely play in South Carolina's favor because you do have someone, like I said, you have a Colin Hill who can deliver the football, throw a cliche at you. He can make all the throws. He knows where the ball is supposed to go. If these receivers have time for routes to develop, maybe there is something you can do there. And maybe we're all talking about this game that South Carolina is going to come out and run the football and establish the run and base their whole offense off of that. Maybe it's the reverse. Maybe you come out, stretch the field, throw the ball around a little bit and then reverse back and throw to run instead. So we'll see. That's the beauty of a week one, is that you have no idea what's going to happen, right? And that's what's great about college football. That's what's great about all this stuff. So Arkansas is up, huh? Wow. Good for them. I mean, if anybody knows Georgia's program, it'd have to be Pittman. So we'll see. All right, y'all got any final questions? I'm not going to go the full hour today. Like I said, I kind of wanted to test this out and see if there's a market for a little pregame stream, or if y'all are all tied up doing other things, getting ready for the game. I may hop on at halftime. Donnie, good question. Is linebacker play a question mark? I really don't think so. I think linebacker is a position that South Carolina's got a chance to be really good. As long as they're healthier. Ernest Jones took a major step forward last year as a true sophomore. I think he'll take another step forward this year. You got Sherrod Green, who now has some playing time under his belt. They're super excited about Brad Johnson. And I think Brad is going to be a kid that plays probably more than most people thought coming into camp. Now, the coaches have talked him up since camp. He got defensive player of camp. So he's going to be on the field. He's going to be on the field a lot. That'll be in their regular package when the Sam linebacker is on the field. But, I think he's a kid that has waited his turn. Brad was a very disruptive player in high school. People up, in the upstate Pendleton area, they will tell you this kid made plays in high school. And I don't know if he was necessarily quite big enough at that buck spot to sort of be an every down. That buck spot, they ask you to line up at defensive end so much that I don't know if he was quite long enough, big enough to handle it. But this Sam spot where he's got a little bit more space to work in may be a perfect fit for Brad. So I'm excited for Brad because I'm really, really excited for Brad because he's a good kid, and I think he's going to have a chance to play a lot. Let's see. I'm excited that it's game day as well. So Georgia has not had a first down. That is crazy. Will South Carolina be in the top 25 with a win over Tennessee? I don't know. I kind of doubt it just because the perception of wow, y'all bear with me. My contact is going crazy right now. The perception of South Carolina is still a little bit down, from last year. So I would say probably not, but if they start 2-0, then absolutely South Carolina will be in the top 25. And the fact that all the teams aren't eligible for the top 25 yet certainly helps that case. And thank y'all for joining us. Special teams, that's something that's not been talked about enough, I think, because you do have a new special teams coordinator in Kyle Krantz. Now, from everything I hear, Kyle Krantz is one of the sharpest dudes in that building. Super smart guy. Players love him. Incredibly hard worker. So Kyle Krantz is going to be fine in that role, I think. But anytime anybody does something new, right? Anybody takes over a new role, it can be hard. There can be an adjustment. So I think that's a good question, Sydney, and worth pointing out. Sean, I gave my score prediction on Gamecock Central. I said 21-17. To be completely frank with y'all, that is the biggest guess I've ever made. I have no idea. Nothing would shock me. I do think it's going to be in that 21-17, 24-17, 24-21. I think it's going to be sort of in there, but if you start getting turnovers or special teams plays, it's not always, a high-scoring game isn't always because an offense is great, So you can – sometimes it plays out differently than you think, but I think if they played this game 10 times, 8 times it would probably be in that sort of 24-17, 21-17, somewhere in there. Let's see. Will we get a return for a touchdown today? I'm going to say no, but if they do, Miss Lynn, I'll give you a free month to Gamecock Central. Somebody else talking about the Spurs on here. Scott, the Spurs will eventually be on the big old Gamecock statue. I'm pretty sure, I think. David. Hey, so David, actually, we're not really doing another Carolina podcast the way we did before. Basically, right now, so this live probably won't be, because this live will be won't matter in about 3 hours. But so we're doing GC Live. It's on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Live pretty much every day and normally in the afternoon. Well, as soon as we're done, I go back and I download the audio from it, and I'm going to post, and I do post it on all the podcast feeds. So if you'd rather listen to us in the car, you don't want to use up all your data, you're not at home, you're not at work, just go to Gamecock Central on like Apple Podcasts or whatever or Google Play, whatever that podcast one is. All the different podcast feeds, we have the feeds on there. So that way you save your data. And what we found is with another Carolina podcast, once we started doing the GC Lives, we were just sort of repeating ourselves. So it just makes sense to download the audio from this. So if you can't catch our lives on YouTube or Facebook or whatever during the week, we've been doing them at either 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We did do one of them at 1 o'clock. Love to hear y'all, see you on the week, come in and watch them each day. But if you can't get them live, they are archived on all those platforms, but then the audio version is on there as well, which I think is pretty cool. Let's see. All right, y'all. I think I'm going to go watch some ball. I got a couple buddies coming over as well. And I think that might do it for today. What do y'all think? But like I said, I may hop on. If the game is crazy, I'm going to hop on after the game and see what y'all are doing. I'm very curious to see how different your comments are once y'all are loose and y'all been drinking all day, to be honest with you. So, by the way, I got to mention, if you are sitting at home, you're not going to the game, you're still trying to figure out where you want to go check out my buddies at Market on Main. For real, I'm telling you, I would not steer y'all wrong. 23-foot television, LED screen, outside, socially distanced. Go check them out. If you're in Columbia, it's on Main Street, right at the corner of Main and Lady, and it's going to be awesome. They got a watch party going down. Y'all got to go check it out. I'm not going to be there today, but I'm going to be there probably next week for the Florida game, and maybe I can meet some of y'all in person, so that would be cool. But, all right, it is GamecockCentral.com. I'm Wes. Chris, I guess, has better things to do than talk to us, but that's okay. If you're not a subscriber, go on there right now. Code BEATUT, BEATUT will get you 60% off your first year of a subscription. And I'm going to go watch some football. I got my buddy, my girlfriend's dog here, and my friends are coming over. So y'all hit me on Twitter at West Mitchell GC, and hopefully I will see you all on here very soon. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy the game. And, hey, let's enjoy this because, honestly, I didn't know if we were going to get to this point, right? So it's here. We got 10 of these. I'm excited. Let's just go enjoy it. Let's enjoy the friendship, the food, the football, and let's meet back on here, and we'll talk later on. Thanks, y'all. I'll see y'all soon.